Hello everybody, so today's video I'm talking about Leila Cavett, and there was a lot of information on this case, and so this is probably going to be one of the longer videos I've done. I hope you don't mind. And it's also one of the more heartbreaking ones. You'll understand once I start getting into the details. But all the links I used for research will be down below, like always, and I want to go ahead and get into this just because of how much information I have. Like, I have quite a few pages of notes that I'm going to have to get through, so I just want to go ahead and get into it. So, in the early morning of Sunday, July 26th, 2020, a woman named Ebony Williams pulled into a parking lot of the Edge Apartments in Miramar, Florida. She was visiting friends, but something would catch her eye. It was a boy, small, barefoot, and he had only a shirt on and a diaper. He was also alone. This was concerning that there's just this small child in this random parking lot. So obviously she decided to approach him, and she said that he was crying, and she asked him where his mommy was. She says that he just pointed everywhere. You know how little kids are when they kind of understand but also not really, and they don't know, so they just gesture vaguely. That's kind of like what he did. She picked him up, and she started to search. She was wanting, to see if she could find his mom, maybe she was somewhere hurt. She assumed someone would start calling his name, and that would be that. However, there really was no one around, and no one called for him. She became even more worried and started knocking on doors in the complex because she hoped that someone would recognize him, but no one seemed to know who he was or even where he came from. She did say that one woman did offer to help change his diaper. I guess he also had a dirty diaper on. Ebony did call the police, and they responded, and thankfully, although the boy was obviously upset, he was thankfully unharmed. He was unable to tell them anything, because he could only really babble in baby talk. That's how young he was. At the station, he was cleaned up and given toys while they began to search for his family. They reached out to other jurisdictions to see if he'd been reported missing, but he didn't match any reports. His photos were released, and it reached Gina Lewis in Jasper, Alabama, and Gina is his aunt. The boy's name is Camden. But Gina was confused. Why was her nephew in Florida, and where was her niece, or not her niece, her sister Leila? Like, what's going on? So Gina called the police and told them that her 21-year-old sister Leila Cavett lived in Dawsonville, Georgia, with Camden. She seemed happy there. She worked at a Dunkin' Donuts to support Camden, and she hadn't mentioned she was going to Florida. And this would be weird anyways, because she says that, as far as she knew, Leila didn't even know anyone in Florida. Gina said although that Leila could be impulsive, she never would have just left Camden in those conditions, and that her son was her entire world, and something terrible was wrong. Like, this was out of character for her. She would never just leave him somewhere like that. So Lila's family made the drive to Miramar, and Camden was placed in foster care, and a search began for Leila. They released photos of her and her white Chevy truck, which she would have been driving. The truck was a mid-90s model with a red tailgate and a, quote, baby on board sticker in the passenger window. And I will have photos of that truck in this video. Surprisingly, I could find more photos of the actual truck than photos of Leila and Camden, which I thought was kind of weird, but I will have those photos. On July 29th, police announced the truck had been found in the parking lot of a Walmart 2 miles from the apartment where Camden had been found. The Walmart was in a different jurisdiction, so Miramar PD had to collaborate with Hollywood PD. In a press statement, Hollywood PD said that there was a witness who saw Leila near Hollywood Boulevard and Highway 441, which is how they even found the truck. However, no trace of Leila No trace of Leila was in the truck, and she was officially named a missing persons. So Leila's family began to work with police and provided new photos of Leila and her tattoos. They hung flyers, talked to media, and hired a lawyer to help them get custody of Camden. The process was slowed down by the pandemic, unfortunately. FBI was even called in to help the local police department, and they put together a timeline of her last movements. The family said that she FaceTimed her sister on July 17th, and she seemed fine. She texted off and on until July 23rd. Then she would only communicate through social media for a few days after that. On July 26th, the day Camden was found, her grandma said she messaged Leila on Facebook and only got a thumbs up in return. Police were unsure if that was her or someone else who had her phone. So the police dug into her social media, where they found some things. Before she disappeared, she asked several people for money, including her uncle and Camden's dad. She also sold some items on Facebook Marketplace, some expensive headphones, and her Toyota Corolla. Police believe she sold the Toyota to buy the truck that she drove to Florida. In a Marketplace post, there was a screenshot that showed her web browser, and one of the open tabs was a dating site, which asked the question, did she meet someone from the website and they were in Florida? Her dad, Curtis, says that he believed yes, as they found a message on the phone from a man asking her to come to Florida for the weekend. On August 13th, a news conference, Special Agent George Pirro said, quote, "We believe that some people who are familiar with the circumstances surrounding Lila's disappearance remain in our community, while some have left the area." End quote. FBI also released surveillance images of Lila in the days just before she went missing. On the night of July 24th, Lila and Camden were seen at a Crackle Barrel in Vero Beach, Florida. No one else was with them. On July 25th, they were both seen at a racetrack gas station in Hollywood next to the Walmart. Video footage released of her truck entering the station lot and some of the later footage showed Lila getting out of a Lexus sedan and going inside. And now we have a development. On August 16th, FBI arrested 38-year-old Shannon DeMar Ryan and charged him with kidnapping and lying to a federal officer, but he claimed his own events that happened. In a video on his Facebook on August 9th, he said he and Lila knew each other since January 2019 when she knocked on his door in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, claiming her car had broken down. He said he let her stay the night, but the next day she said that she had been kicked out of her house and had nowhere to go. He claimed he let her and Cam move in for a few months, which to me was really weird because she does not know this person beforehand. She only knocked on your door and you're just inviting her to stay with you for a few months and she accepts. Like, that's really weird. I mean, maybe she did, but I just feel like that's way too trusting. They moved back to Georgia, but they stayed in touch. He also, in the video, said that he is a master of the occult arts and made money doing psychic readings. He said he was in Florida in July 2020 visiting his ill apprentice when he saw Lila had bought the truck, and he messaged her and said he wanted to buy it from her. She agreed to drive the truck down to Florida to make the sale and said she would stay and be the new apprentice. In Florida, they met up at Walmart. He paid her $3,000 for the truck. Then they got into his Lexus, stopped at a racetrack gas station, and then spent the day together at the beach and returned to the gas station that evening. He said she then started to talk to some guys in a car, which he thought they looked familiar. He said he tried to talk Lila out of leaving with the men, but she took Camden and got into the sedan. This happened around 2 a.m. He said he waited there at her truck thinking she'd return eventually, but she wouldn't. He said that he stayed around racetrack for a few days just waiting for her to return. He then went to the Walmart where he saw the truck had a broken window, so he put a garbage bag over it to protect from the rain. He said he was then surrounded by cops who said that they were looking for a missing woman, and they searched his Lexus and said he didn't know where she was. And his story didn't match up with the evidence that they had found. So that was Shannon's story. Now we're going to get into the FBI story. This is what they are saying happened. So the FBI says that Leila did leave Georgia with intentions of becoming the new apprentice. She left Georgia on July 24th and arrived in Hollywood with Cam on July 25th. At 2:20 p.m., she pulled the truck into Racetrack and stopped behind a silver Lexus, where she spoke to the driver, Shannon, who gestured to the Walmart. He got into his Lexus, she got into her truck, and she followed him. And that is caught on surveillance. Police believe she left the truck and got into the Lexus with Shannon. At 3:06 p.m., the Lexus pulled back into the Racetrack. Leila got out of the driver's seat, spent 3 minutes inside, and then returned to the Lexus. A few minutes later, Shannon brought cigarettes and also returned to the Lexus. They weren't seen again until 4:51 p.m. when Leila and Cam were at the Family Dollar. Then we have an hour gap where it's believed that they did go to the beach. At 8:35 p.m., Leila is seen at Cheesecake Factory and picking up food. At 10:15 p.m., last known sighting of Leila when the Lexus pulled back into the Racetrack. She had Camden on her hip, and she filled a cup of soda, and Shannon got gas, and then they left and drove off in the Lexus, with Shannon driving. There was no evidence that she went back to the Racetrack that night, or she got into a sedan with 3 men, but there is evidence Shannon left Camden alone in a parking lot. At 8 a.m. on July 26th, Shannon went back to Racetrack, where he got money from an ATM, and then 20 minutes later, a Lexus was seen on camera pulling into Edge Apartments. An individual matching Shannon's description was spotted. His cell phone pinged off a nearby tower just before Camden was seen alone. At 8:38, the Lexus was back at the Racetrack where it sat for 20 minutes, and Shannon didn't get out. He drove away again, then returned a few minutes later, parked next to a dumpster in the back. At 9:30 a.m., he drove to the Walmart where he bought large garbage bags, carpet odor eliminator, and duct tape. Later, he called a friend and said that he had a truck for sale for $11,000, but the friend wasn't interested in buying the truck. On July 27th, Shannon moved the truck from Walmart to the Racetrack, parked next to the dumpster, and he is seen on camera going back and forth between the truck and the dumpster, which is confirmed by gas station employees who saw him. An employee said that when they looked in the dumpster, there were kids' toys and women's clothes. He was also seen dragging a large object wrapped in black garbage bags from the truck to the dumpster and placed what looked like bloody towels in a nearby trash can. Some data was pulled from his cell phone, which would reveal that he looked up a timetable of commercial garbage pickup in Hollywood, Florida on July 26th after midnight. So, police at this time get they set up a surveillance detail after a plate reader confirmed that the truck seen at Walmart, and on July 28th, they watched Shannon approach the truck with keys in his hand for the truck, and they then surrounded him and questioned him about the truck, and then they told him, Shannon told his version of the story to the police, and that's what they're saying. And then Shannon claimed that Leila delivered the truck with broken windows, which was untrue. They found the driver's side window was broken, and the driver's side visor was bent, indicating a possible struggle. They also found shovels in the back with small droplets of a red substance on them. In the Lexus, they found trash bags, half empty bottle of bleach, and a white powdery substance. So obviously Shannon was arrested, and a federal judge ruled Shannon a flight risk and ordered that he be held at I'm so sorry, I cannot pronounce this. At Briar Jail without bond until the case could go to a grand jury. In April of 2021, the attorney's office for the Southern District of Florida announced that they were dropping the kidnapping charge that they had for him without explanation. And the charge was dismissed without prejudice, which means that they can still file charges later on. He still faced a state charge of child neglect for abandoning Camden, and he would remain in jail. In May 2021, Hollywood PD filed their own charges, which were second-degree murder and tampering with evidence, and of course he pled not guilty. There was a pre-trial hearing on November 17th, 2023, and virtual dispositions were to begin on December 15th, 2023. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anything else on the trial, so I'm not even sure what happened in the dispositions or anything like that. So, as far as I know, it's currently in that trial phase. I just don't think it has gone to trial yet. I could not find anything, unfortunately, so I will have to update you guys later on. Because December 2023, so about 6 months ago now. So I hope that by the end of the year we have at least more news. So I will report back when I have that. Unfortunately, Leila Cavett's body still has not been found. I tried to see if that has been found, and I couldn't find anything at the time that I am filming this. There is no news that her body has been found. But I think it's pretty obvious what happened. I don't know what could have made him do this to her. I do believe that Shannon did kill her. I don't know if maybe he tried to do something to her and he killed her so she couldn't do anything about it or something. And I think that heavy object that he was dragging to the dumpster was her body. Or something of her. But I do think that he threw her in the trash. That just is what it sounded like to me, but we don't know yet. But with that being said, this is where I have to leave it. Sadly, we don't really have answers, official answers, like the trial and stuff. But let me know your guys' thoughts down below. My heart breaks for little Camden. His mom is gone, and he's not gonna know who she is when he grows up. This family has to go without their daughter, their sister, and I just hope that they get the justice that they all deserve, honestly. Like I said, let me know your guys' thoughts down below. Thank you so much for listening to Lila's story, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye, guys.